Hi everyone, I'm Gautam aka the Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about what if it all goes well. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching, so I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching along with premium coaching right now, which is basically unlimited calls and unlimited DMs. So, the links for that will be in the description, where you guys will be led to an FAQ page where you will have all the answers you need. And thereafter, you guys can reach out to me via Instagram or email for pricing information and to figure out what plans may be suitable for you. I also have a Facebook group where I upload resources from time to time, as well as you guys can ask me questions anonymously if you wish to do so. Make sure that you answer the two questions and agree to the group rules, otherwise, my moderators will decline you with feedback asking you to do the exact same thing. I also have a mailing list where I post articles from time to time, as well as my latest offers for coaching. And last but not least, I also have a Manifest Your SP course, which has been revamped recently. And the general idea is that you use this as a field manual throughout your SP journey, and the end objective is one, you have clarity, and two, you have a great self concept, and three, you manifest your SP and you're having a happy life, right? So that is pretty much the end objectives of this course, and by the time you finish this course, you are well in your way, into your journey with regards to manifesting an SP. And the neat thing is that the course will be updated throughout, like all its existence, which is like practically forever. Right now, you guys will have access to it for a lifetime, and if you buy it right now, you will have those updates for free. And every time I update the course with like new content and whatnot, I will actually bump up the prices. So if you get it now, you are getting it for a steal. So again, guys, the links for that will be in the description down below. So without further ado, guys, let's get to it. So what prompted this video was, I had a few survey suggestions on this. So I have a Google survey form, for content suggestions. So people asked me to talk about this, and also I found myself talking about this topic particularly with a lot of my clients recently as well. So I thought, what, let's make a video on it. And the general idea is that, with what if it all goes well, is that we are thinking about the best case scenario, right? So one of my clients told me, what, I really like how you always tell me the best case scenarios and everything. Like, I really like how you view that. And I told her, well, I had to at one point in my life. I had no other choice, but it was something that was a necessity for me. Otherwise, there was no way I could go on with life, um, if I didn't imagine that. If that possibility was not imagined by me, I wouldn't have had the strength to take the next step in life. And I'm not exaggerating here. Like, I went through pretty rough stuff. Like, as far as like, my experiences in life considered, like that was one of the roughest periods of my life. Not too long ago, about a couple years back, where if it wasn't for the fact that I could imagine the best case scenario, I wouldn't be able to make it through life. And I almost didn't, if I'm really being honest. But somewhere there was that hope within me that said, what if it all goes well? What if this is exactly what you need to go through in order to be where? And this was even before I knew law of assumption per se. This was like, my law of attraction days, where I was still kind of exploring a lot of things and so on. So I still had to, like, give myself that hope that, okay, everything will make sense one day. Like what Steve Jobs says, you can only connect the dots looking, back at them. So I was like, let's just go. And if you don't have that kind of a perspective, sometimes it can really be hard to navigate through life as the bridge of incidents unfolds. And the way you first ask is, well, what if it all goes well? What's my best case scenario here? And you start answering that question. Okay, my best case is, okay, if, let's say with SP, right? SP said no to you. What's the best case? They, turn a 180 and they tell you, let's get married, for example, right? Like that's the best case scenario. Why not assume that? Why not think about that more often, right? Rather than thinking, well, since they said no to me, what if they move on with another person? What if they get married? What if they are happy? And then here I am left behind, as I'm growing older, and all my friends are getting married. Why go in that route? And I'm using this particular example because time and time and time and again, I have heard this from my clients so many times, right? But I asked them, well, what if it all goes well? What if SP says yes to you, right? And you have a happily ever after with them. What makes that scenario less believable than the one that you use to spiral in an unfavorable way? Right? What makes that much more believable? Because both of those things essentially are assumptions. So that begs the question, like, what makes the unfavorable one quote unquote more realistic? It's programming. Simple as that. Like, we have been trained to think unfavorably for a large portion of our lives, right? Like, we always, in like companies and even in like exam situations, or even in like like a school environment and things like that, right? Like, we've always been kind of programmed to think about things from the worst case. Okay, worst case, if this happens, right? Like, okay, here's what you do. The idea that that if the worst case isn't so bad, then the best case will be better. But that's not how it technically works, because whatever you place your attention on is what you manifest. And people will argue, well, because I was prepared for the worst case scenario, like, I was able to navigate through that worst case scenario that actually ended up happening. But if you didn't intend for it, or if you didn't put the focus there in the first place, you wouldn't even be in that situation, right? And like, for example, right, like, okay, let's say you carry a torch expecting your car to break down. Okay, if my car breaks down, right, like, while I'm driving through the night, I have a torch to kind of diagnose what the problem is. For example, your car breaks down. Guess what? You will use your torch to diagnose the problem, and you may solve it. You may actually solve that problem. But that begs the question, if you had thought about this from the best case scenario, would the car even have would it have even broken down in the first place? Right? That's the question you ought to ask yourself. And so you always think about things from the best case. Okay, what if it all goes well? Right? What if this goes well here? Right? What if I get the job that I want? What then? Well, I'd probably get the pay that I really desire. I'd be very excited to tell everyone that I love how happy I am, and everyone would also share with others like how proud they are of me, and I'm having such a awesome work environment, and I'm having such a great fulfilling job, and I have a great work life balance there. My colleagues are awesome, and things like that, right? Like, you kind of positively spiral. So start thinking about things from the favorable perspective. What if this all goes well? What if this all goes well, and what if this leads me to my desires? It's a simple question, but if you ask that over what's the worst case, or what if the exact opposite happens, right? Like, that's going to lead you there as well. So I'd rather you guys think about things from this perspective. What if it all goes well? What's my best case situation here? And assume that, claim that, okay, it's already done, right? If you're going to, get a ticket scratch off, what's your best case here? Best case, right? Imagine that, claim that, and go. And when I say best, I mean the absolute best. Don't water down your dreams, right? Don't be quote unquote realistic. There's no such thing, right? We are in a giant ball that's covered on a layer of gas that's going through, let's swirling around a ball of fire, hurling through, nothingness, essentially, right? There's nothing logical about this, or there's nothing realistic about anything in this universe, right? So don't, even think about things from a quote unquote realistic. If you want it, you have it. Can you believe it? As Neville would say, right? Like, he would say it in a bold voice. Can you believe it? Can you assume that to be true? And, just claim it. Even if it's sarcastically, like, honestly, like, even if it's like in a joking way, oh, I'm going to earn $1 billion. Do it, right? Because what's going to happen is that as you're joking about all these things, it's going to happen. Even if it's in a joking way, think about the best case scenario. It's like, when like, if you meet like in your school days or something. I don't know how many of you have these kinds of experiences, but like if you have a crush, right? You and your friends kind of sit down and like kind of think about the best case scenario. Hey, imagine what if you get together with this girl, like how would your wedding be like, and who would be the best man, and what kind of a speech will they give, and so on, right? And I suddenly had those types of conversations with my boys, and it was fun. Like, and we were just like giggling, and as you can tell, like just from me smiling, I'm like recollecting all those memories right now. But like, it was so fun, and it was like such a joke, right? Like, we would just imagine that, and we would just laugh so hard. But at the end of the day, like one of us actually may end up with our childhood, like, or like high school sweethearts or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if one of us do. But the point is, like, even if it was sarcastic, we allowed ourselves to think from the best case, right? At nowhere, did we think from the worst case. So even if it's like, like a joke, think about it from the best case scenario as much as you can, because why not? Right? I think it was Donald Trump who said it. If you're going to be thinking, you might as well think big, right? And we are thinking all the time. We're thinking of something is on our mind, right? So think from the best case scenario as much as possible, even if it's in a joking way, right? And tell yourself, like, prime yourself, like, talk to yourself repeatedly about that in your mind. Well, okay, if this all goes well, this is how it's going to do. Or let's say if you want a specific amount of money, for example, right? Like if you think, well, I want to earn maybe 20,000 a month, right? What's my best case scenario? Like, okay, if best case, maybe this business really picks up, I receive that money, or maybe someone just gives me that money every single month, like what the TK stories is. Like, I've already talked about this in one of my previous videos, and I'll leave that Reddit link as well, so definitely go and look at that. It's basically that story of that lady who assumed, isn't it wonderful, and got a income for the rest of her life. She was 55 at that time, right? So she had like $2,500 per month, and she like manifested it for the rest of her life from her friend. So those types of situations can happen to you as well, right? What if you like get $20,000 for the rest of your life every single month? Like, it can come to you in any way, right? If you're going through a business deal, what's the best case scenario there, right? What will your potential prospects say? What will your potential business partners say, right? Like, what will they actually tell you? What's the best case scenario? What's your wildest dreams there, right? That's one way to think about it, right? Like, what's your wildest dreams there? And I think coming at it from that perspective excites you, right? If you're planning a holiday, what's the best case scenario? You'll probably get upgraded to first class for free, and you get a hotel accommodation paid by someone, or like it gets sponsored by some company or things like that, and you just get to enjoy the whole experience. And when you're imagining that, you are priming your mind for that, and you're opening yourself into receiving that. You're in receiving mode, right? That's the idea of like best case scenarios. You are in receiving mode because you're thinking, you're putting all those things out there, you're aligning with all those realities where you have already won a lottery or a scratch off, or where your friend gives you $20,000 per month, right? You're opening yourself up to those realities where it already exists. And as you're going into the bridge of incidents will unfold, and you will get it, right? So if it excites you, that's a good sign, right? Because that means you are actually like this is what you actually want. So when the best case scenario kind of excites you, you kind of know you're on the right track. I know, like, feeling is not often used in law of assumption side of things, but that's one of those indicators that I kind of use sometimes. Is like, okay, if the best case scenario really excites me when I don't think about the when and the how, then that's a pretty good indication that that's in alignment to what I want out of life in general, if that makes sense. So that's something that I often think about. It's like, if it excites me, great, like I'm actually like really down for that then. Or if it really brings me a sense of relief and peace, then I would be like, okay, that's a very good indication that, you know what, this is the ideal scenario. That if it brings me a feeling of like, nah, okay, whatever, I'll go bigger, right? I'll go bigger. I don't care if it seems impossible from where I am right now, but if it doesn't make me go, oh damn, that would be great, like, right? Like if it doesn't make me go like that, that is probably not what I would like to aim for. But that's just me, right? Like, I'm just giving you guys like an idea as to what you would like to manifest and how you would like to go about the process. But yeah, so these are things that I use, to my advantage when I'm thinking about the best case scenario, and prime your mind for that. Prime your mind for that, because you never know how it may pan out. 5 years ago, 2017, I was still in school. I should say stuck in school, right? I would have, been so happy that that younger version of me, that 18-year-old version of me, would have been so happy to hear where I am right now in life. He would have really been shocked, right? But he would be so happy to hear where he is in life right now. And that's the thing, right? Like, you never know how it will pan out, but you can start dreaming. You can start aligning yourself by thinking about the best case scenario, right? So assume the best and keep going, and it has to pan out in your favor. It has to. Because think about it logically, if you are thinking about that, if you are assuming it to be true, what else can actually happen but that scenario, right? Because if thoughts create, and if this is your thoughts, of course it has to be created, it has to come to fruition. So always assume from the best case scenario, right? I don't care what your SP has said to you thus far, that's irrelevant, right? I don't care what the job interviewer said, I don't care what your university said, that's irrelevant. Do you want it? Yes. Then you have it, right? What's the best case scenario? How would it all pan out? What will happen? What will you experience? Think about it that way and go deep into it, right? Like, don't just be like, okay, I got my desires, that's it. No. What will it make you feel? How elated would you be? Who would you share that good piece of news with, right? How would you celebrate? What would you do, right, to honor that, right? Like, how, grateful would you feel, right? And feel it right now, right? Neville always talks about how, giving thanks to whatever that you can see in your mind, right, is prayer essentially, right? Is giving thanks to that which you see in your mind as being already realized, is giving, it's prayer at its truest form, right? So, be grateful for all that you see in your mind, because that has to be planted by, your higher self, so that it may be expressed through you, right? So give thanks, think about things from the best case scenario, right? And don't bring logic into this, right? Like I said earlier, don't bring logic into this. Don't think when and how, and just think, okay, if nothing was a concern for me, what's my best case scenario here? Don't limit yourself in any way. Don't limit yourself in any way, right? And also, one thing I just wanted to add was, like, don't even bother discussing all these things, guys, with like anyone close to you, unless they are really into manifesting, right? Because what happens is, especially when that idea or that desire is like freshly planted in your mind, don't bother discussing, because what happens is, your friends and family may potentially, shoot it down. Like, just a disclaimer there, because if everyone is you pushed out, then obviously, you can definitely intend to hear favorable things, and that's completely valid. But also at the same time, you're not going to be micromanaging everyone else's responses all the time. So if you feel like, what, maybe people may shoot down, like, just a, like a heads up there. Like, if I were you, like, I would like treat like desires as very sacred, right? Like, I would just keep it to myself and just like let my success or let the fruition make all the noise, right? So you just, just let it, grow, let it, just, like, grow at its own pace, and it will come, right? It will definitely come into your life, and just go by your life knowing that it's all done, and it has to pan out in your favor, right? So think from the best case scenario, guys, and manifest all that you desire with ease and grace, guys. So that's it from me. So if you guys have any questions, do let me know. If this video resonated with you, be sure to drop a like. turn on the bell notifications so that you guys will know when I upload a new video every single week. Make sure that it's for all videos and not just for certain videos. And of course, guys, please subscribe, as it goes a long way for me. We're already at about 800 plus subscribers, so we're already doing really good. And I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for all the support you guys have been giving me. We recently reached 10k followers on Insta as well. That's a great achievement. Followers on Twitter and TikTok as well. I am posting stuff there as well, so you guys can ask me stuff on TikTok as well if you are really active there. Definitely if you're on the younger side of things, you're probably on TikTok. So definitely follow me there, ask me questions. I have opened up the Q&A section as well. So yeah, guys, if you guys have any content requests, put it down in the suggestions form. Again, link will be in the description. And as always, guys, stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.